Thousands of Coloradans can't go home tonight as the 416 fire burns north of Durango. A 1.8 million acre national forest is about to be closed as a result. There are hikers in the backcountry who have no idea.
We know that there are people out there.
Denver is great at celebrating new flights to new cities. But what happens when the politicians and TV cameras leave? The trouble with polling this race for governor, and the man who happened to be right where the world and a baby needed him to be. That's next. It is frightening by any measure. The 416 fire near Durango has burned 35 square miles. That's 22,000 acres. And it is advancing to about a quarter mile from some homes. 800 firefighters worked that fire today. 2,000 homes are evacuated. Another 127 went on standby to evacuate today. That fire is still just 10% contained, but happy to tell you that no lives and no homes have been lost. The enormous San Juan National Forest will close tomorrow to keep people out of dry areas that are ready to burn.
The San Juan has never gone into full closure before.
1.8 million acres across 9 counties in southwest Colorado. Talking about an area 4 times the size of Jefferson County.
We understand that it's a large inconvenience. It's an enormous economic impact to our communities, and we recognize that.
Cam Hooley with the U.S. Forest Service says they don't know how many people are in the backcountry right now, possibly totally unaware that there are fires raging and a forest closure coming.
It's not possible for us to try to track all those people down.
They'll leave signs at trailheads, and if they find a car, they will only barricade the path out. They will not lock the gates over the roads. This closure is indefinite, meaning the economic impact is indefinite as well. Local leaders were consulted, but the San Juan National Forest is closing Tuesday, whether they like it or not.
I can't say that they were all in agreement, but I believe that they would all understand why we're doing it.
And we have tonight, quite literally, a new perspective on this fire. This is obviously time-lapse video. It is 50 minutes compressed down into about a minute. This is the view from the top of a peak just north of Kennebec Pass. Hank Blum from Durango climbed up there yesterday to take this time-lapse as the fire lurched over the ridgeline. Announcements about new nonstop flights out of Denver, like Norwegian Air's much celebrated flight to Paris, always bring out the politicians and the TV cameras. Norwegian started its twice-a-week flights in April. Mayor Michael Hancock and his staff went on the first one. But we noticed that Norwegian is already reducing service, yet is still eligible for a $4 million incentive package. Our Marshall Zellinger follows the money.
DIA is offering Norwegian Air a chance to earn back some of the money it has to pay the airport.
The airline pays for the use of the airport, so they pay landing fees, they pay lease fees for the space that they lease in the airport.
As part of the incentive deal, DIA is offering to credit Norwegian $30 for each passenger on the twice-weekly Denver to Paris nonstop. We did the math. If Norwegian had a full flight, 344 passengers, the airline would get $10,000 back per flight. Multiply that by 2 flights a week for a year, that's more than $1 million. Over the 2-year deal, more than $2 million.
Realistically, with what Norwegian is planning, they'll be able to reach about $500,000.
That's because on Friday, Norwegian announced it's already cutting service. The flights will only be offered March to October, not the other 5 months of the year. The incentive contract in front of City Council tonight allows Norwegian to reduce service by half and still qualify for the same amount of money. And we wanted to know why. Should City Council be weary of approving this tonight, knowing that they've already reduced service?
City Council should be delighted with this decision because it's already being reduced. It's already a proportional credit to them based on their decision. So we're not paying them for something they're not doing.
Incentives are apparently the norm. Copa Airlines announced a nonstop to Panama City 4 times a week. That airline qualifies for an incentive of $20 per passenger, up to $1 million for the year. Air Canada was given a similar incentive for nonstop flights from Denver to Vancouver. Air Canada fulfilled the contract without reducing service. Turns out Air Canada actually increased service for part of that deal, so it might have earned more incentives. I checked Copa Airlines' schedule today, still 4 nonstop flights. This morning on 9 News, Gary Shapiro asked Mayor Hancock about the reduction in services, and the mayor said we need to allow Norwegian to find its sweet spot, Kyle.
Sweet spot, Marshall. All right, very good. Thank you. So
I'm an unaffiliated voter for a very good reason, and that is I don't believe in party politics.
Rude of me to interrupt that gentleman. So for that reason, political experts think that unaffiliated voter participation in Colorado's primaries is going to be super low. Nobody knows, though, honestly, just how many independent voters are going to wade into party politics this year at the first opportunity. Politics guy Brandon Ritteman looks at the mess that makes for the pollsters who are trying to predict the winners for you.
We brought a group of unaffiliated voters together recently to meet the candidates for governor. They were loads of fun, but those voters definitely weren't party people.
I don't vote based on party lines ever. I vote on what I feel is best.
There are very few polls published in this race, but the GOP firm Magellan polled both sides. They found a 13-point lead for Walker Stapleton on the Republican side and a 13-point lead for Jared Polis in the Democratic race. But on both sides, pollsters have to make an educated guess about how many unaffiliated voters will actually cast ballots. Even in our batch of independent voters who wanted to meet the candidates, we heard this from a voter named Eric.
My first question is am I going to vote in the primaries at all? Second question is then which party am I going to vote in?
On his first question, pollsters will tell you in a regular old November election, turnout from unaffiliated voters is a bit lower than those registered with a party. Magellan predicts only 5 to 10% of unaffiliateds will actually vote in this month's primaries. Then there's Eric's second question. Which party primary will the unaffiliateds choose?
I'm usually in the middle.
Am I like really liberal?
I would consider myself a moderate.
I am probably between a moderate and a liberal.
Pollsters predict unaffiliated voters will show up stronger for Democrats in Colorado than Republicans. Magellan told us they think unaffiliateds will cast maybe 1 out of 10 ballots in the GOP race, the other 9 being registered Republicans. But they expect it to be more like 2 out of 10 ballots in the Democrats' primary. The true number could be really important on that side. Magellan found that even though Jared Polis was winning overall, Kerry Kennedy was beating him with the non-party voters. But all of this is prediction. Just like in weather, the forecasters in politics can end up surprised. For Next, I'm Brandon Ritteman.
So the number one reason unaffiliated voters tell pollsters that they might not vote in the primary is that they do not know enough about the candidates. I can help you with that. You can see our debates featuring all the candidates on the Next YouTube channel or link to Brandon's story on 9news.com. So we're getting ballot counts daily like we do in the general elections, and the Secretary of State's office says as of this morning, almost 38,000 people have voted. Republicans outnumber Democrats slightly, and unaffiliated voters are participating at about half the rate of the party people. During the last primary in 2016, 21% of voters cast ballots. Highest turnout ever for a primary in Colorado was 2010, 32% turnout. Lie is a strong word. It means you're knowingly deceiving people. But our truth test found it is a fair description of a false claim in an ad that's being run by Republican Walker Stapleton's campaign for governor. Stapleton knows the claim is false. He told us in a debate last week that it doesn't matter. So why is that ad still running on 9 News and on other media outlets? That is a fair question asked by Next viewers Aaron, George, Charles, among others. Here's the deal. Federal regulators, the FCC, prevent TV stations from refusing any ad from a qualified candidate for office. That federal rule is designed to protect free speech on the public airwaves. Stapleton's false claim ad from his campaign falls into that category. Stations can reject ads from outside groups, but it's exceedingly rare for stations to do that unless the ad is patently false. I should also note that's not a decision made in newsrooms. That's a media company's call. So yeah, it is frustrating when we call out a false claim and then the ad just keeps airing due to those federal rules. I know that more people are going to see Stapleton's false claim than will see our fact check. Stapleton knows that too. It's probably why he doesn't care he's being called a liar. Our next question comes from a viewer named Alan, who wonders about the DMV office's ticket queue system. You grab a ticket with a letter and a number, say A12. Alan goes, I might be the 4th in line or I could be the 35th in line, depending on how many B's and C's get picked before me. Is there a super good reason for it? Alan, you can decide if this reason is super good, but there is a reason. The DMV explained that they are sorting people based on why they are there, what task they need done, and how long that work is going to take. That's the reason why the sign says, if you're doing this, take an A ticket. If you're doing this, take a B ticket. They try to group people together so that all the people who have 5-minute jobs are waiting for each other and not stuck behind somebody who needs 45 minutes of counter time. DMV said the best way to get in and out is to make an appointment ahead of time on the DMV website. That should get you served within 15 minutes. First, though, check to see if your entire DMV service can be done entirely online. There's a lot that can be done there. Zero wait for that. And there are a dozen counties that have another option, these DMV kiosks. Have you seen these? So around here, they're in Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Broomfield, Douglas, El Paso, Jefferson, Weld counties. The DMV says the average transaction to get your new car registration on a kiosk takes less than 2 minutes. After it's renewed, new registration document, license plate decals, just right out of the kiosk. Scan, pay, print, done, if your car is registered in that county. And then behave properly with the car, would you please? You've crossed a line. It's our new segment where you can tell another Coloradan they are literally out of line. Don Mulhauser spotted this in Larimer County. I mean, you could not do that worse if you tried, minivan. I'm sorry, you're in 3 spots and you're pretty much just horizontal. Don emailed this to next@9news.com, where we are collecting the best of the worst parking jobs you see around our state. You can also get our attention with the hashtag #HeyNext. We have a break from the heat, but not for long.
Someone was just pulling me out the door, telling me, hey, let's go, let's go.
Good thing he went early. Real good thing he went early. And our friend Jordan Chavez moved people to tears with his honesty. Your reactions are next.
A nice way to start the week, a break from the heat. Average highs are in the low 80s, and that's what we saw today after a weekend with a high of 95 on Saturday, 97 yesterday. And so this break, well, very nice to see, is going to be sort of short-lived. There's another big high-pressure ridge that's going to shift over the area, but also a hurricane out in the Pacific that might bring rain by the weekend. Tracking severe storms between Wichita, Omaha, and Minneapolis, and that's where travel delays are expected tonight and early tomorrow. Another warm, dry day tomorrow, with the red flag warning out for northwestern Colorado and maybe expanded across much of the state as we move through Tuesday afternoon. Fair skies in 54, a little windy out there. The winds will lay down a bit once the sun sets. A couple of degrees warmer tomorrow, and then we're back to the 90s middle of the week. Isolated storms Wednesday and Friday with a good chance of rain from storms Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Cooler as well with temperatures in the 70s. Now that's going to feel nice. What's not so nice? Well, we've got trees and weeds very high. So if you're sneezing, the smoke and the pollen probably the reason.
Kathy, thanks. We're getting some feedback tonight about Jordan Chavez's brave words here on Friday about his own mental health struggles and his plea for us to talk transparently about issues like anxiety and depression, hopefully saving some lives in the process. Jordan tells he spent the weekend reading a stack of your messages that poured in, and he passed along just a couple for me to share with everybody. Cynthia wrote in to say that she also struggles with anxiety, yet no one would know it. To look at me, I'm a successful attorney with my own practice. Bless you, Jordan, for what you did, as I'm sure you help more people than you know. And from Kimberly, who wrote, my young son suffers from significant mental health issues. I will continue to advocate and fight for my son because he's absolutely worth it. Your story put some gas in my tank when I really needed it. I encourage you to check out Jordan's commentary if you haven't seen it. It is real, it is honest, it is emotional. This is the first time he has talked about this, not just on TV. This is the first time he's talked about it. A link to his commentary on the next Facebook page and in the next section of 9news.com. He knew something was wrong. The woman on the side of the road with the baby in her arms.
I just automatically went, something's not right. Something's definitely not right.
One of the toughest people we've ever met is on her way up Pikes Peak tonight, hand after hand. And a sign that there are snakes, next to a sign that there are snakes. Next. You won't convince Vanessa Navarrete that guardian angels don't exist. She says she met hers by the side of US 85 on Friday. Her one-year-old son, Justin, was struggling to breathe. He turned blue. She had called 911. Before the paramedics arrived, John did. They shared their story with our Byron Reed.
There's something to be said about being at the right place at the right time.
Want to go play in the ball pit?
And for John Providence, being punctual paid off just last week.
And so I actually left my house 2 hours early before the job.
He owns his own carpet cleaning company and was in between jobs when he had a feeling he can't quite explain.
I was sitting there looking at my clock. For some reason, someone was just pulling me out the door, telling me, hey, let's go, let's go.
So he loaded up his van in Greeley and headed south.
As I was going down 85, I was seeing this vehicle with hazards on.
We were just all shocked. It happened so fast.
That's when he saw Vanessa Navarrete and her family on the side of the road.
We were 5 minutes outside of Platteville. My mom, she was sitting in the back seat with them, and she looked and she's like, I think you need to pull over. And I looked in the mirror and just seeing her facial impression like something was wrong. And as soon as I seen my son, he was already blue.
I put in park, jumped out of the van, ran to her, and the first thing she said was, he can't breathe, he can't breathe.
So she called 911, but John stepped in until the paramedics arrived.
So I put my ear up to his chest to see if he was breathing. He wasn't, and that's when I started the CPR.
The guy took my baby and put him in the ambulance, and the minute we heard those cries, we knew he was okay.
A good Samaritan, this family is forever grateful.
He was our guardian angel.
For being at the right place at the right time.
Because if it wasn't for him, my son probably wouldn't have been here.
For Next,
time was definitely on my side.
I'm Byron Reed.
Great reminder why we should all be trained in CPR and first aid. John, the man who saved Justin, is celebrating his own son's 7th birthday tonight. He invited Justin and his whole family to join him at Chuck E. Cheese. Mandy Horvath continues to break barriers. She is the double amputee who climbed the Manitou Incline earlier this spring, became the first woman to do that. Next on Friday, we told you about her new goal. She planned to climb the incline again and then wanted to make it all the way up Pikes Peak. She left yesterday on her 25th birthday.
If I can get more people outdoors and, you know, feeling capable of themselves, like that's awesome.
First female double amputee to summit the Manitou Incline, did it again last night, went up to bar camp. Her last message to us this afternoon is that she's stopping for dinner and a little nap before resuming her climb tonight. I hope nobody was looking too intently at the snake warning sign, because they might have missed the snake. That's next. It's a sign that there are snakes in the area, and right above that there is a sign that there are snakes in the area. Sheila Chester had her head on a swivel at Tailman Trail in Parker near Legend High, and yep, that would be the same snake that they're telling you about on the sign that's sitting right below the sign. Hey, how about that? If you see a sign that you think is worth sharing with all of Colorado, email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. Carol Ann writes in with a question about unaffiliated voters and primaries. She says, what's the point of being an unaffiliated voter if you can't vote for the candidates of your choice regardless of their party affiliation? We get this a lot. People want to vote in both. Got to choose one because otherwise you're getting double the votes of other people around. Gary Madsen says, fires are concerning to all of us. For those who live in the mountains, we hope those visiting will respect fire restrictions. Amen. See you next time.